What would the world look like in the year 2000? Back in the 1980s, we looked toward tomorrow with eyes full of hopeful tears and innocent dreams. We believed the gentle whispers of corporate giants, that technology would heal our loneliness, stitch together our broken families, and make the weight of life a little softer to carry. But dreams are terribly fragile things. Behind the glowing neon lights, the booming shopping malls, and the glittering glass boardrooms lay a quiet, devastating trail of shattered trust, silent losses, and heartbreaking human error. Today, we are opening the heavy albums of 20 haunting American product flops from the 1980s. These aren't just corporate mistakes. They are the fragile stories of human longing, desperate ambition, and the quiet grief of things that were never meant to survive. Take a deep breath, hold on to your memories, and let's walk gently through yesterday. Coming in at number 20, the McDonald's MCDLT. In 1984, fast food marketing tried desperately to solve a deeply human ache, the craving for warmth in a cold, rushing world. McDonald's wanted to keep the hot side hot and the cool side crisp, building a two-sided styrofoam pod that forced exhausted families to assemble their own meals at the kitchen table. But beneath that clever plastic gimmick hid a quiet, lonely irony. In trying so hard to engineer absolute perfection, they stripped away the simple, sacred comfort of sharing a warm meal together without rules. The heavy, unyielding waste left a bitter taste in our mouths, and the MCDLT quietly vanished into the night, leaving us to mourn why we so often overcomplicate the sweetest, simplest joys of being alive. At number 19, we witness the quiet, crushing tragedy of the Apple Lisa. Before the Macintosh became a beloved, friendly fixture in our homes, Apple poured its beating heart and soul into the Lisa, a machine built to free everyday human beings from the soul-crushing weight of endless paperwork. It was an astonishing leap of creative passion, born from a desire to make life earlier. But then, the cruel economics of survival struck like a hammer. A staggering $9,995 price tag. Imagine being a small business owner, a struggling parent, or a young dreamer with a vision, staring at a machine that could change your entire world, knowing in your bones it was forever out of your reach. Families and small shops had to turn away in helpless silence, making the Lisa a haunting monument to a future that only the ultra-wealthy were ever allowed to touch. At number 18, we take to the cold, open road with the infamous Yugo. Imported from Yugoslavia in 1985, it was marketed as a fragile beacon of hope for cash-strapped American families desperately needing a lifeline of independence on four wheels, costing under $4,000 brand new. For many working-class parents working two jobs, buying a Yugo meant finally being able to drive a sick child to the doctor or visit an aging mother miles away. But the heartbreak was immediate and cruel. The car became a national laughingstock, fragile and unreliable, frequently breaking down on dark, freezing bridges right when people needed it most. It wasn't just a terrible car, it was a devastating betrayal of the working-class families who trusted it with their livelihoods and their safety. Moving on to number 17, Colgate Kitchen Entrees. In 1982, executives at Colgate-Palmolive made a devastating human mistake of sacred trust. They believed that because families trusted them to protect their children's bright, innocent smiles every single night, that same deep brand loyalty would stretch across the boundary line into a frozen, microwavable beef lasagna. But home is built on delicate, untouchable boundaries. When we sit down to dinner with our exhausted loved ones at the long, painful day, we yearn for deep nourishment and comfort, not a jarring reminder of morning hygiene routines in the bathroom. The product failed instantly because it violated the emotional sanctity of the American dinner table, teaching us a harsh lesson. Trust cannot simply be manufactured. It belongs only where it is planted. At number 16, we touch a raw, aching moment of pure childhood heartbreak. Atari's E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Imagine being a little kid in the freezing winter of 1982, walking out of the movie theater with tears in your eyes, completely in love with a gentle, glowing alien who just wanted to phone home. You begged your tired parents for the video game adaptation, holding it close to your chest like a treasure as you unwrapped it on Christmas morning. And then, you plugged it in. The game was an unplayable, confusing mess of muddy pixels, endless falling pits, and silent frustration. Millions of children felt that quiet, crushing sting of betrayal, the moment an innocent dream was sold out for a rushed corporate holiday deadline. The unsold cartridges were eventually hauled away in trucks and buried in a dark New Mexico desert, interring a generation's purest hopes right along with them in the dirt. At number 15, we highlight the bittersweet tragedy of Sony Betamax. In the quiet race to capture fading family history on magnetic tape, Betamax offered a breathtakingly superior picture, richer, clearer, and truer to the warmth of real life than anything else on Earth. It was technology crafted by artists and purists who cared deeply about preserving beauty. Yet, corporate pride, ego, and restrictive licensing locked it away in a golden cage, letting a cheaper, inferior format win the hearts of the distracted masses. It is a poignant, tearful reminder that the world doesn't always reward the purest art or the most tender craftsmanship. Sometimes, cheap accessibility wins, leaving the brilliant pioneers to watch the world pass them by from the shadows of history. Coming in at number 14, the IBM PC Jr. IBM wanted so desperately to cross the threshold into the warm, sacred space of the American family home, hoping to spark a lifelong love for learning in young, curious minds. But in trying to cut corners to save $1, they gave the computer a cruel handicap: a rubber chiclet keyboard that felt like a cheap, unresponsive calculator. Imagine a sensitive child sitting down late at night to write their very first creative story, only for every single keystroke to feel like a punishing struggle against the machine itself. Frustrated families walked away with heavy, proving that when technology tries to enter our sacred homes, it must feel like a gentle extension of our beating hearts, not a cold obstacle in our path. At number 13, we feel the sharp, gut-wrenching sting of loss with the Coleco Atom. Launched in 1983 as a hopeful all-in-one promise for the modern household, it carried a terrifying hidden defect: an electrical power surge that could instantly incinerate days of exhausting human labor. Imagine pouring your whole heart into a school project, typing tears and thoughts late into the night, only for a sudden electrical pop to erase every single word, leaving a blank, mocking screen and a broken spirit. It wasn't just a hardware malfunction, it was an emotional violation that robbed children and dreamers of their proudest accomplishments before the machine was even given a fair chance to live. At number 12, we look at the RCA Dimensia system. In 1984, RCA dreamed of a unified digital living room where a single smart television could harmonize your entire home into peace. It was an ambitious, beautiful vision of domestic serenity, but the execution was chillingly cold and confusing, wrapped in an unfortunate name that sounded more like a medical sorrow than a family room. Consumers stared at complicated remote controls and intimidating menus, retreating back to the simple, comforting manual dials they knew. It teaches us a tender truth. When technology tries to bring us comfort, cold complexity only builds an invisible wall between the people we love. At number 11, we step into the quiet, exhausting human toll of FedEx Zapmail. Before digital communication connected our separated souls in a single flash, FedEx dreamed of a world where critical, life-changing documents could travel over telephone wires through a massive, heroic network of human couriers fighting the clock. Millions upon millions of dollars were poured into this human-powered dream. But human ingenuity moved faster than corporate infrastructure. Small desktop fax machines quietly arrived in offices everywhere, making the grand, expensive network obsolete overnight. There is a quiet, haunting melancholy in watching monumental human effort and sacrifice get swept aside by the unstoppable, silent march of cold progress. Moving to number 10, the Sinclair C5. Conceived with a genuinely gentle, beautiful heart to save our dying planet, reduce urban smog, and give everyday people a clean, peaceful way to move through crowded cities. But the fragile dream collided with a dangerous, unforgiving reality. Sitting just inches off the cold asphalt, the driver was entirely invisible to the roaring, heavy traffic of the modern world. It was a green vision born a decade too early, forcing a brave, hopeful commuter to feel terribly small, unprotected, and exposed on roads built only for giants. It stands as a poetic, mournful reminder of how fragile ecological idealism can be when the world isn't yet ready to protect its dreamers. At number 9, we touch the quiet frustration of the GE WonderTouch microwave. In the mid-1980s, sleek digital touchpads began replacing the satisfying, tactile, mechanical dials we grew up with. GE introduced early membrane sensors that lacked physical feedback. Imagine a tired, exhausted parent trying to heat a midnight bottle for a crying infant in the dark, pressing a smooth glass panel that stubbornly refuses to register, failing in the heavy silence of a sleeping house. It reminds us that humanity thrives on physical touch, warmth, and certainty, not cold glass that leaves us guessing in the dark. At number 8, we look at the quiet elegance of the LaserDisc. Long before streaming algorithms reduced deeply moving movies to cold, compressed data files, LaserDiscs offered cinema lovers a breathtaking, physical reverence for film. The discs were heavy like glass, fragile, and wonderfully tactile, turning a lonely movie night into a sacred, beautiful ritual. But the sheer, heartbreaking cost kept it locked away from the everyday working person, turning a gorgeous love letter to cinema into an exclusive, distant luxury. It reminds us of what we lost inside our souls when cheap convenience replaced our physical, tender connection to true art. At number 7, we encounter a moment of painful corporate misunderstanding: BIC Disposable Pantyhose. After successfully making disposable lighters and razors for a fast-paced world, executives assumed women wanted that same disposable, throwaway mentality applied to their own clothing. But what they fundamentally failed to understand is that clothing is deeply intimate. It wraps our vulnerable bodies, protects our daily dignity, and carries our quiet confidence into the world. Treating delicate garments like cheap plastic pens felt profoundly impersonal and dismissive, reminding brands that human dignity can never be mass-produced as a disposable commodity. At number 6, we explore Campbell's early soup-in-a-mug trials. Designed for busy office workers rushing through stressful, lonely days, it promised a warm sip of home away from home. But the paper and plastic adhesives of the era frequently leaked over delicate desk paperwork and family photos, turning a comforting break into a messy, humiliating disaster. It shows how clumsy our attempts are when we try to manufacture the authentic warmth of a mother's kitchen inside cold corporate office buildings. Coming in at number 5, Burger King's infamous Where's Herb campaign. In 1985, millions of dollars were spent building a nationwide mystery around a lonely, fictional man who had never tasted a burger. Families tuned in night after night, waiting for a comforting meal, a warm invitation, or a delicious sight. Instead, they got a confusing scavenger hunt that hid the food entirely behind frustrating riddles. People didn't feel hungry, they felt alienated, exhausted, and tired of being played with. It remains a gentle, lingering lesson in human connection. When people come to you looking for comfort, never make them search in the dark to find it. At number 4, we feel the poignant, aching frustration of the Apple Newton. Released in the early 90s, it was an earnest, beautiful attempt to read the human hand, to take our messy, emotional, handwritten thoughts and translate them cleanly into the digital age. But the software wasn't ready. It stumbled over our handwriting, turning heartfelt words into accidental comedy. There is something deeply vulnerable about writing a personal note to someone you love, only for a machine to look back at you and misunderstand every single stroke. It paved the way for the phones we hold today, but its failure reminds us how heartbreakingly hard it is for cold silicon to truly understand the human hand. Taking the number 2 spot, the USFL. Born in 1983, it captured the pure, nostalgic joy of spring football. Warm afternoons, packed bleachers, and young athletes chasing their innocent childhood dreams under bright skies. But driven by the fierce ambition of corporate ego and a fatal decision to fight a hopeless autumn war against the NFL, the soul of the league was violently crushed. Courts, lawsuits, and broken contracts tore the dream apart. The stadiums went dark, the jerseys were packed away in dusty boxes, and fans were left mourning the loss of a game that brought communities together when winter finally thawed into spring. And finally, at number 1, Ford's 1980s Edsel revival consideration. The original Edsel is world famous as the ultimate corporate heartbreak, a car that symbolized the painful misalignment of a company and its people. Years later, as the 1980s forced a changing world, executives briefly wondered if they could heal the past and bring the name back to life. But they realized a profound, aching truth about human memory. Some scars run far too deep. Once public trust is broken and a name becomes a living symbol of failure, it can never truly be resurrected. It stands as a timeless, melancholic reminder that in business, as in life, our reputations are fragile glass. Once shattered into pieces, they can never be glued back together quite the same. Which of these poignant, heartbreaking 80s stories touched your soul or reminded you of days gone by? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.